As night falls and the world outside grows quiet, there's a certain tranquility that settles in. But for many, sleep is often haunted by whispers of the unknown, stories that linger in the shadows of our minds. Today, I will share true stories that have sent shivers down the spines of those who've experienced them. So, tuck yourself in, dim the lights, and prepare for a journey into the unsettling realm of reality's scariest tales. Story 1. The House with No Exit. In the small town of Junction City, Kansas, the Johnson family moved into a quaint, old house on the edge of town. It had been empty for years, and while many locals whispered about its haunted past, the Johnsons saw it as a charming fixer-upper. Almost immediately, they began to experience strange occurrences. The first night, they heard soft knocks on their bedroom walls, the kind that could be easily dismissed as the house settling in. But when the knocking escalated to loud thuds, they couldn't ignore it any longer. The children claimed they heard voices calling their names, leading them to wander the dark, creaky hallways at night. One fateful evening, as the family sat in the living room, the lights began flickering sporadically. The air felt heavy, almost suffocating. Suddenly, the front door swung open, despite the fact that it was locked. A cold gust of wind swept through the house, extinguishing the flames of their candles. Fear gripped them as they rushed to investigate. What they found shattered their sense of safety. The door led to an entirely different room they had never seen before. One with dust-covered furniture and walls adorned with chilling portraits of families long gone. It was as if time had stood still. They tried to exit, but the door wouldn't budge. As panic set in, they began to hear the whispers again, echoing around them. The ghostly figures in the paintings seemed to twist into horrified expressions, their eyes following the family's every move. Days turned into weeks, and each attempt to escape that room only led them deeper into the house, into impossible mazes of endless hallways and doorways that led to nowhere. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they stumbled upon a hidden door, which opened to reveal the backyard. The family fled, never to return, leaving the spectral home behind them as the whispers faded into silence. Story 2. The Haunted School. Not so far away, in the town of Maplewood, stood an abandoned school that had remained untouched for decades. Local children often dared each other to spend a night in its haunted halls as part of their after-school adventures. But for Jake, who was determined to prove his bravery, the decision to trespass was a thrilling challenge. With a flashlight in hand and a group of friends, Jake entered the dark, decrepit building one weekend night. The air was thick with dust, and the floorboards creaked ominously beneath their feet. They explored room after room until they reached the gymnasium, where the basketball hoop hung askew and the bleachers were coated in a thick layer of grime. As they settled down to tell ghost stories, they heard the distinct sound of footsteps echoing through the empty hallways. The group exchanged nervous glances, each trying to suppress their growing unease. They brushed it off, attributing the noise to the wind or their own imaginations. But then they heard it, the unmistakable sound of children laughing and playing, echoing from the adjacent classroom. Hesitant yet curious, they decided to investigate. As they peeked through the cracked door, they saw what appeared to be a group of children dressed in old-fashioned clothing, playing games on the dusty floor. Yet, when they entered the room, it was empty. No sign of any children, just the remnants of forgotten desks and chairs. Confused and terrified, they decided it was time to leave. But as they turned to exit, the air grew cold, and a faint whisper echoed in Jake's ear. "Stay and play." Paralyzed by fear, he felt an unseen force holding him back, as if the very walls of the school were trying to consume him. With adrenaline pumping, Jake broke free from whatever grasped him and sprinted out, his friends quickly following. They fled the school as the laughter echoed behind them, slowly fading into the night. None of them ever spoke of that night again, but they all knew one thing. The haunted school was not just a tale for children. It was a terrifying reality. Story 3. The Stranger in the Woods. In a small, remote town in Oregon, Emma decided to go hiking in the woods to clear her mind. As an avid nature lover, the dense trees and serene trails were a refuge for her, a place to escape the pressures of daily life. However, this hike would take a sinister turn. Setting off early in the morning, she enjoyed the peace and quiet, the rustling leaves, and the beautiful scenery. But as the day progressed, the atmosphere changed. Dark clouds rolled in overhead, and the distant sound of thunder echoed ominously through the mountains. Emma decided to head back, but as a thick fog began to encase the forest like a suffocating blanket, the familiar trails became disorienting. After wandering for what felt like hours, she finally came across a narrow path that seemed to lead back toward her car. Relieved, she started down the trail, but soon heard a heavy footfall behind her. A chill ran down her spine as she quickened her pace, glancing over her shoulder. A tall figure cloaked in shadows emerged, their face obscured by the mist. Panicking, Emma began to run, her heart racing as she navigated through the underbrush. But the figure was relentless. No matter how fast she dashed, it seemed to always be a few steps behind her, taunting her. Just as she reached a clearing, she tripped, falling on the leaf-strewn ground. The figure loomed over her, and for the first time, she noticed its hollow eyes glowing, drawing in the surrounding darkness. In that moment, as fear engulfed her, Emma recalled the survival tactics she swore by. She reached for a sharp rock and hurled it into the woods, causing a loud crash. The figure hesitated for just a moment, and that was all she needed. She scrambled to her feet and sprinted toward the direction of her car, not daring to look back. She could feel the oppressive presence fade as she hit the trailhead. Bursting into the open air, she sprinted to her vehicle, relieved to know she had escaped the nightmare. Though she never spoke of that day, she could still feel that ghastly presence creeping behind her whenever she ventured into the woods. Conclusion: each of these true stories is a testament to the terrifying encounters that can transpire in ordinary situations. From haunted homes and mysterious schools to the chilling presence in the woods, the darker side of reality often eclipses the comfort of our mundane lives. As you drift off to sleep tonight, remember that not all stories are fiction. Some reside just beyond the veil of the ordinary, lurking in the shadows of our world. Sweet dreams.